Hello. Spooky white Stalgar. There's so many Stalgar variations. Over a ground hardened by dry blood and stomped leaves, the corpse of a giant Stalgar crawls with flies. Its flesh has been pierced and cut, as if stabbed by spears and slashed by swords. You touch the dead Stalgar's flank. A cloud of flies stirs into the air, and suddenly, you feel the creature's remaining essence. The world around fades away. The pack rests. Rocks shelter the young, full bellies. You turn away and look beyond the trees. The moon breaks over their swaying canopy. A scent in the air stirs a tingling in your mouth. You slide into the shadows and the taste of hunt filling your nostrils. Light shines on the stones by the water that falls. Prey down below. Two-legged, hair like dry grass. It moves near the water that flows. Thin legs, slow, noisy, unaware. It holds a sharp stick. Two-legged hunter, weak hunter, prey. Closer, prey. Bright moon, prey. Into the dark. Pain. Pain on your side. A sharp stick pokes out of your flank. You roar and shake it. It snaps, breaking on the stones. Wet stones, your blood. Leaves rustle. You look. Another two-legged. Another hunter. Thick legs, silent steps, stripped face. Strong hunter, enemy. You leap, aiming at its neck. It moves. Fast. Your claws find flesh, ripping it down, ripping it down. Wet leaves, two-legged blood. It howls, it fights back. Long claws cut through the air, they slash at your flesh. More pain, sharp pain. You strike. It strikes. Hot blood on your claws, hot cuts on your chest. The world goes red. Your strength fails. You can't breathe. The two-legged hunter looks down. Wet ground. Our blood. Sharp stick above its head, bright moon above its head, strong hunter, the world goes dark. It said that claws cut at them, but I guess that was probably just like blades of any kind, really. But I took it at the time to mean that they transformed into a beast form, but I don't think so. I don't think that's the case. That's Hunter Brother. This is the guy, yeah. Arthwin claims that Fjorm exiled himself in shame after failing to kill the giant Stalgar. Redai believes Arthwin, a member of the lower tribe, is lying for his own gain. So it sounds, I take it that the weak hunter is the one that is Fjorm. Sorry, is Arthwin. No. Redai sent us on the quest. Arthwin is the lower tier. Fjorm is the exiled character. So I think Arthwin was the weak person in the vision, and the Fjorm was the one who defeated the Stalgar. But yeah, there's a blood trail. I bet we're gonna find that they died. That right? I saw you down there earlier. The body at the bottom of the falls. Huh. We did see that before. Let's loop back around. We'll go back to the bottom, discover what happened down there, and then we'll go up the left side of the area next. Yeah. Because from when we were going along the coast, going along the cliffs, I could see that body down there. Oh, hey. How do I miss these sometimes? I'm not even sure. I'm honestly not sure how I miss them sometimes. There's just loot everywhere, I guess. Okay, so here we are. So did he stumble and fall? Did he try to get away and just collapsed? Or did the other hunter throw him off the ledge because he had gains to have? This leather pack, its belongings washed down the current of the river, gleams like a wet rock. It might be that the shittier hunter may have specifically taken advantage of his weakness and killed him in that moment, because then he could steal the glory. Or it could have been an accident. Or maybe he just... It was a bad fight, the one with the Stalgar. He might have just fallen dead eventually. It might have actually been a lethal fight, and then he just like, well, I can profit off of this if I just tell the story differently. It's not like he'll ever come back again, so I'll just say he exiled himself. It's shitty though, because you're shitting on the memory of that person. Because instead of the truth, which is that the guy did cool shit, but then, oh wait, I shouldn't have done that, should I? No, he's not, they're not fire immune, okay. I thought I was wasting it for a second there, but fire works on everybody here. You are shitting on the guy's memory by saying that instead of him defeating the giant Stalgar valiantly, but then dying of his wounds or whatever, you're saying he failed and then like a coward exiled himself instead of facing his own failure, which is a bummer. This boot lies half buried in the mud of the riverbank, as if it had been flushed from the upstream. Yeah.
Look like they came from a Stelgar's claws.
These wounds, they look like they came from a Stalgar's claws. Only part of that seemed to play? Beneath the raging waterfall, the corpse of an elven Glenfathan hunter lies shattered against the rocks. Broken bones protrude through its skin. I don't think it doesn't look like it has skin from here, honestly. But you also notice deep, parallel cuts in the rotting flesh. The slashes trace almost every part of the body, as if it had been ravaged by a dozen blades. This man probably died before this fall from the cliffs above. Oh, like he just fell, saying that he might have just died and fallen in the river and then gone down the waterfall. You touch the dead elf's forehead, droplets of water glistening down its purple surface, and feel a sudden jolt from the hunter's lingering essence. The world around you fades away. You're walking among the underbrush without making a sound. Moonlight catches sight of your arms, shining them pale, but you quickly dart again into the shadows of the giant trees of the Northweald. Your blood brother is not so deft as you expected. Look at him, frail, unaware. He doesn't deserve to share the glory of this hunt. It's been countless seasons since a Stalgar like this one, twice the size of its lesser kin, has roamed the forest near Twin Elms. Arthwin fell for the trick. You almost feel pity for him, but you've convinced yourself that he'd only get in the way once the killing begins. He'll be safer by the river, expecting that we'll flank the Stalgar when it comes out to drink, but this kill will only be yours. The Stalgar is larger than you imagined. It stands without fear atop the waterfall's ridge, its silhouette cutting a monstrous hole against the mantle of the night sky, a beast of legend, a true hunter. Your hand tightens around the shaft of your father's spear. The weight feels balanced, just right, as you prepare the throw. You put everything into it. The spear flies true and hits its mark. The Stalgar didn't even hear a sound. Its blood spills bright on the rocks, yet it seems unfazed. The beast pounces. Moonlight shines over its great fangs. Your hands draw your blades, without a second thought, as you lunge forward to meet this monster. It's fast. It's ripping your flesh apart. You stab at the darkness engulfing you, deep, again and again. But there is no slowing its embrace. They killed each other.
Huh?
Probably was a mistake to fight alone.
Mm-hmm.
Because he dismissed the other hunter. And maybe the hunter was less capable. But a second person, armed with weapons, fighting, might have been the difference between life and death. Because he wasn't enough. It was too strong. It's a giant beast to fight alone. So, it is the other one. There is no grand betrayal. He did not kill his comrade. He just lied about his glory. He probably knows what happened. I assume he's well aware that he's dead. Otherwise, if he stole the glory, then he'd be risking the other guy just coming back. if he didn't know for sure that he was dead. And it seems unlikely that he in any way contributed to his death in any sort of active way. It may have even been partly, yeah, the cockiness of the guy who died that caused his own death. He was a little douchey. These people condescend to and exile and belittle and don't really count this tribe of people who are all the misfits. The guild, was it the twice split arrow or something like that? It's the particular clan that's of exiles or people from other tribes or miscreants or whatever other reason they're there. Their main quality seems to be that they take anyone, which means that there might be people that just genuinely want to be there as their first choice. Aedra beetles, haven't seen those for a while. Neat. I honestly just kind of like to set up the bouncing heel from time to time. It's fun to do. And you're petrified. Stop being petrified. She's gonna keep being on fire as long as you're petrified. Stop it. Stop it. Also get healed. That's what it looks like. That's a chance to really see it up close because we could focus on it because it was all that was happening. She has a giant blue cloud around her, basically. That comes in pulses, and it hurts her by like 6, but heals everyone around her by what, like 12 it looked like? And hurts every enemy around her by like, I think it was like 30 or something. One of those things where it's like, doesn't seem super powerful, but the fact that it's a giant AoE continuous thing over the course of the fight means that like, it's one of those things that stacks the fight to change the direction of it all. Clouds above the cliffs of the North Weald reflect on the iridescent surface of this pillar of Aedra. This is an important location. What's this? A winding stair hugs the cliffside, providing an impressive view as you work your way higher and higher. Not too far along the path, however, you find your progress interrupted. A large boulder appears to have fallen onto the road from somewhere up above, and it now sits squarely in your way. Hammer and chisel. Chiseling away at the boulder proves a slow and wearying endeavor, especially when several sections of the boulder prove too hard to carve through, forcing you to aim elsewhere. After a long while, your efforts pay off, and a section of the boulder splits away. You hear the echoing clatter of the rocks tumbling down the side of the cliff. The sound seems to stir something overhead. A shadow crosses your path, quick as lightning, and vanishes before you can catch a glimpse of what cast it. But you do see the rapidly growing silhouettes of several more following rocks, flung down at you from above. Scrambling into action, the party ducks under a small, rocky protrusion along the cliff face. But Sagani... It's always Sagani! Why is it always Sagani? But Sagani stumbles and is left just short of shelter. A sudden hailstorm of fist-sized rocks and scattered debris rains down upon them. Battered and bruised, Sagani leaps the final distance to safety. After a short while, the thundering rumble of falling stones fades away. Your ordeal past, you continue your climb, and the rest of the journey proceeds without incident. At last, you find yourself at the base of a final twisting set of steps, above which you can see the towering pillars of Hylia's nest. Oh. This is a zone transition. Oh, I think I just went to where the dragon is, which like framed as a different zone, but I guess we're there now? Yeah? Okay, I guess we're doing this now, why not? Yep, that's the Temple of Hylia. Huh. Didn't fully expect that. Well. Hey, Eloth is back. Venturing into the depths of the White Wreath Well, Eloth discovered that while the foundations of the well were made of a living Aedra, the source of the sounds were wights that had been dropped into the well by their mothers. In total, a dozen women from White Wreath and the surrounding woods had dropped their children into the well after they learned that they would turn into wights. Some had died, but many survived the fall, living on small rodents and other critters that wandered the ruined and within tunnels under the well. Eleth was forced to fight the aggressive wights, but eventually emerged and told the village what had transpired. Some of the mothers confessed what they had done immediately, others fled the village. In the end, no one had the desire to punish anyone for what had happened. Goddamn. Brutal. Swaddling sheet, recall, agony, and overwhelming wave. That's distressing. Overwhelming wave when hit by a crit. Crush damage and stun. AoE, 10 meters. Holy shit. Well, that was distressing. That was pretty distressing. Huh. Why a well? Don't you have any cliffs around or any other ways of disposing of babies? They're kind of small. It's not that hard, I imagine. The well, you're poisoning... Is this a pre-germ society that doesn't understand what germs are yet? Because I guess that's probably about right for the setting. But it's like, it's just, oh, now? Grieving Mother progress now? Okay. But like, you would just think that like, it's just, the worst place to throw a body is to poison your only water source. The morning is cold and silent. You are upon the plateau of the birthing bell, and there is no sound, no wind. The sky is a smooth, mortared gray. The forest beneath the plateau, nothing more than a jagged black silhouette. Even the rock, the Aedra around you, it feels colder. The sun's warmth bled from it. Against the cold backdrop of the sky, you see the great birthing bell, hanging from its arch of Aedra. Its surface is tarnished, and the shadows inside the bell are dark, still. It seems to press down upon you, or simply, sadly, watching, as if standing above a grave formed from the table of the plateau and the remains of the mother's womb that now covers its surface. And there is something heavy in your hands. It breathes, gurgling, slick and wet, yet that is all it is. You find yourself filled with fear. You don't want to look at what you are holding. You don't want to touch it with your mind. It is all you can do not to cast it from you. The timing, by the way, back to back of the Aloth quest and this. Examine what lies in your hands. The mass before you is vacant. Flesh in the shape of a newborn. Bubbles of saliva bunched at the mouth, expelled by its steady, gurgling breath. Its arms, legs, head, lolling. Limp. No thought. No struggle. No desire to cry in protest or pain. There is nothing from within. There is an absence in your hands. Your hands tremble, shake, and the silence is broken as the chimes on your wrists echo with the trembling. And the chimes do not echo in the thoughts of the mass in your hands. There is no soul within to hear it. Reach out with your thoughts. The only emotions blanketing the plateau are the pain of the mother. The child breathes, its heart beats, but it makes no cry. The child feels light, empty. There is no joy in it, no fear, no thoughts at all. Yet, in the hollows inside it, it breathes, a thing of habit, not life. You cannot move. Your trembling has subsided, and the birthing chimes on your wrists are still as the child. The mother is crying, eager to see, begging to see the child. You feel a sudden spike of fear of being hunted. If you give the child to the mother, you will be blamed, and her anguish and rage shall fall upon you. She will not spare you or anyone you love, of this you are certain. But you did not cause this. You don't think you caused it. And the mother begs, her arms outstretched. Enter the child. The chimes sound once more as you give the child to its mother, and as the chime fades, there is the eager gleam, the welling joy, the questioning. You draw upon it deeply, letting the hope stream into her eyes. letting her ears filled with the cries that you have heard countless times past from your other children on the bell. You hear the laughter in the mother's voice, in streams of tears that run down her face, and with a practiced motion, you weave a life that will never be into her eyes and thoughts. She will care for the child as if it were whole until you set her free. She will care for it until you find a way to heal what has happened, until the reality cannot be dispelled anymore. And still, cradled beneath the weeping woman that birthed it, the child in her arms does not hear the cries of her mother, does not react. It is an empty thing that breathes and carries nothing within it. And the chimes on your wrists lie still. They are bound to you like chains, never to sound inside a newborn's mind ever again. Ooh. So there was a Hollowborn, and she hid the Hollowborn's existence with illusions, and it broke her ability to be a birth mother, basically? Or a midwife? Wake up. We're gonna have to have a chat.
Your mind comes bearing questions, Watcher.
I saw a Hollowborn at the birthing bell. The grieving mother's head bows, and she raises her hands, cradling them slowly, so the chimes do not sound as she moves them. You feel a chill in the air, as if the vault of your mind is growing too large for the thoughts within, and your breath is laced with a chill. To your horror, you hear her breathing, ragged, hacking, but strangely steady. And you can see saliva bunching at the corners of her lips, becoming thick ropes of drool that cast themselves down her chin. There is the smell of blood in the air, new, wet, and the salt, sharp tang in your mind. Coupled with this is the smell of sodden undergarments, cloying at your senses. Take her shoulder and try to steady her. Stepping forward, your hand falls on her shoulder, and then you feel her begin to fall, rigid as a falling stone, and you place your other hand on her shoulder to steady her. Throughout, there is the horrid, steady breathing. Her clothes are wet. It is as if she is burning with fever beneath her tangled hair and beneath her threadbare robes, as if she is giving birth. With a slow, hissing intake of breath, her head rolls back on her shoulders, her eyes pressed tightly together like the lids of a newborn. Yet past the lids you can feel the piercing stare, vacant, cold, horribly. You sense nothing from her, not a thought, like the Hollowborn you held in her memory. You know if you try to pull away now, she will vanish into herself, vanish from your thoughts, perhaps forever. And you have a terrible feeling that whatever connects the two of you will be cut. She is as helpless before you as a child, and you search your thoughts for a way to coax her to you. Share a memory of peace and comfort. She jerks slightly before you, then her head tilts, and the steady breathing breaks, and she gives a racking cry.
I thought it was my doing. I thought that I had stilled it with my thoughts. The child. It was just a child. What was done with it?
You helped give birth to a Hollowborn, yet you made the mother think otherwise. Her breathing is steady again. But there's a life in it where there was not one before, and her emotions are building in her. Apprehension, confusion, welling up. She seems afraid to do more than simply be aware the memory is there.
It was not the last Hollowborn on the birthing bell, and never again did I hear a child's cry.
You have found a death within me, one that many women have borne within them. The world swirls with impulses and weight, spiraling around her, and you feel as if you were being dragged into it. I sought to serve women in need, and instead, my hands ushered no new life. What happened next? I bear the responsibility for. What happened next?
The first birth was the deepest, the saddest. Nothing I could do could find the child's spirit, guide it to him.
You feel a strange absence between you, as if your thoughts are being shared across a great distance. The thought bleeds out for a moment, then returns, sharp, near, personal. I could not understand what had happened, what I might have done. I feared No, I could not dwell on that thought. The child was always there, always a reminder of what had happened, a marker. I made her care for it. I made them all care for it until I could find what I had. What had gone wrong. But the Hollowborn, it wasn't your doing. It happened elsewhere.
Little word of the outside world reached us. It was enough time for rage and pain and grief to guide hands. I feared what would happen to the children, what would happen to me. Every mother knows her womb may shed a stillborn, but these cold, soulless creatures, the parents wouldn't have understood, and fear of the unknown breeds violence.
What happened then?
I held their minds within mine. I shaped and guided them as long as I could, and with each passing day, each new birth, the strain grew, and the more I felt my control slipping, the more I focused my thoughts. Eventually, even I succumbed to the power of my own illusion. I'd woven the threads so tightly that I could no longer see through them.
And then, one morning, I heard funeral bells tolling in the village. The sounds of wailing rose through the mists. A mother had died, her mind so focused on the care of her Hollowborn child that she'd neglected to even feed herself. And with that, the illusion broke. The townsfolk saw their Hollowborn the way they were, not the way I'd wished them to see. By the end of the day, they'd begun to look at me differently, too. I did not understand what had happened, but I knew enough to flee. And every suspicion that surfaced, every faded memory of what I'd done, I pressed it down, tucked it away. It feels cold, lonely, rigid. My skill failed me, but I did what was necessary. I regret the mother's death, but how much worse would it have been had I not acted? There were other ways. You could have sought outside aid for the children or fled if you'd feared for yourself.
The choices you speak of are not always clear in crisis. Not in that heartbeat when the first mother begged for her child and I had to decide what I would give her. How could I have known where that path would lead, or that there were others seeking the same answers? And even so, that hesitation would have cost a young life.
The right thing is not always easy. And yet, if we can redeem the lost children of Deerwood, our struggle will be worth it. The grieving mother's mind is silent and still for several moments. She lets your words wash over her, seeping into the cracks in her own thoughts.
My actions only caused more misery. Worse, I took from an entire village, made them as empty and helpless as the children I sought to protect. But You feel it was right to hold and direct their minds, even knowing the cost?
I feel like that's not what I said, really. That's kind of a vague statement. I wasn't saying, yeah, that was great what you did. I specifically said the opposite a couple times, actually. But now I can only say that. You did not know the cost then. We must often plot our courses with imperfect knowledge.
A tapestry woven thread by thread, never seeing the pattern. So it is with the thoughts and dreams that move us, that shape our reality. Your words have soothed my mind, in ways I did not expect. I thank you, Watcher, for the gift of your sight, for using it to guide me out of the prison of my mind. Let us hope it can also free you from the illusions Theos has woven around you.
Addendum added. Is it still in progress? Or is it completed? Oh, there it says, there it's completed. Oh, there we go. Just kind of had to wait it out. Same thing for Durance, eventually. Gotta get Durance and Aloth back into the party once I return to deal with the returning guy. What's the name of that place again? Radric. I almost said Radsuras. I'm like, that's a different person. When I deal with Roderick's situation again, I'll probably bring Aloth and Durance because I need to progress their stuff. A lot of characters. Especially with the expansion people. Although I did get to finish the Devil of Karok's quest like immediately, didn't I? Which is actually kind of weird. She's right when she says, like, when she knows what she did wasn't right at the time, but like I said, she had imperfect information at the time. She couldn't really have known. Oh. Time to kidnap birds. The bird constantly hides its head under its long wings, their light blue feathers mottled by strips of gray and white. Despite the reclusive nature of the species, this cloud singer bursts into the elaborate songs when nudged. They call me Birdcatcher. No big deal, it's just gonna be a horrible dragon up here. I'm sure it'll be fine. Yeah, as she said in the moment, she doesn't have time to think. It's just she had the agony of, do I give her the child or the illusion that her child is okay? And in that moment, in that level of grief, the number one thing you would want to do is to be able to tell the mother that their child's okay. And she just had the unusual power to actually do it. But then it kept happening. And she kept getting stretched until she snapped. And then the village was thrown into chaos. The edges of the bones are brittle and blackened. Alright. We're back to voice lanes not playing correctly. And now the fun begins. As you reach the summit of the mountain, a gust of wind stirs the air. You hear a noise like the snapping of sails, and the sky is briefly blotted out. A dragon lands before you, shaking the ground beneath your feet. It draws itself to its full height and spreads its wings, barring your passage. Its neck, its back, and the ridge of its spine are covered with magnificent plumage. It hisses at you, and while the sound is unlike any language you've ever heard, the beast's meaning is utterly clear.
Vermin invading my nest, threatening my hatchling. You shall feed my young.
A small worm crouches in the corner of the temple behind the dragon. Be careful, Watcher. Her mind is on edge, not with hunger, but with fear. There is little more dangerous than a mother defending her offspring. You have young here?
I will protect my last hatchling to the death! And that death will be yours, rodent.
Hylia is the goddess of motherhood, actually.
And of the sky and all winged creatures. Even my kind know of her.
Is that why you came here?
I came to care for my remaining hatchling. My kind requires territory. Few places are safe for our young. This is a lesson that cost me the rest of my brood.
Then you should stay. Raising your offspring here would honor Hylia.
So be it. Go then, and with my thanks.
The dragon slowly lowers its wings, watching you carefully. It grunts and lowers itself onto all fours. The grieving mother's eyes are warm, approving. Truly, you are full of surprises and rare insights. And then you leveled up. You didn't lower yourself onto all fours at all. That's a neat looking dragon. Is that a... Yeah, I guess it's like a bunch of purple feathers all over like an azure dragon. That's a trip to look at. Alright. I'm gonna quick save real quick because I'm just curious. Am I allowed to walk around a little bit? Hey, there's the one and only one little wormling. That counts as thieving, and that counts as thieving. I don't really want to get caught thieving by the giant purple dragon. That looks cool. Huh. Well, hopefully that worked out. If she's the goddess of motherhood and open skies and all that, you would think that letting the dragon raise her young would be more pleasing to the god than murdering the dragon and her young, so that some worshippers can have their temple back. That seems backwards by their standards. Considering the story we read about how like people are surprised by Hylia when they see they don't even see our places of worship as being even like even looking at like they say that they look at where their places of worship and don't even recognize them as churches and stuff like that, because that's kind of just beside the point. Spell mastery. Time to pick a level 3 spell that he can use every fight. 100 points of damage protection on an ally. Or infestation of maggots. Enemies in the area have their skin infested by hordes of burrowing maggots. Raw damage over time. More damage the more wounded they are. Okay, this is the kind of distressing one. 10 damage by percentage of endurance lost over 25 seconds. So I think that means that if they've been hurt by 10%, they'll take 100 damage over the course of 25 seconds. I think that's what it means, is that 10 damage times the percentage of endurance they've lost so far, and then it takes that amount and makes it go out over the course of 25 seconds, I think. I could be wrong. Nature's Balm, friendly AoE heal, purge toxins. Yep, get rid of disease and poison. Returning Storm. Brings a powerful storm into being, striking a random single enemy in the area of effect periodically with bolts of lightning that stun and deal shock damage. How long does that the long one too. It's there for more than half a minute and it just keeps randomly shocking people for lightning. I like long-term like fight altering spells. Also I like lightning. Spreading Plague. Infects the target with a virulent and debilitating disease, hobbling and weakening. Or spreading to other enemies. Stag's Horn. This is one where you just straight up beat somebody with a stag's horn, isn't it? Like it's like, oh, what's that mean? And then you read the description, you're like, oh my god. You just hit him with a whole, Twin Stones is funny looking, but I don't think I like it very much. You throw out the weird stones at 45-degree angles from each other, and then if they hit anything, like any boundaries, they explode. And then they do AoE around there. Pretty much torn between infestation of maggots and turning storm. Yeah, let's do infestation of maggots. It's probably strong. As always, if I make a mistake, I could always respect somebody. Something that I've never done before. Let's get back down to Northweald. Didn't quite finish down there. Our trip to Hylia happened unexpectedly in the middle of me exploring this place. I wasn't sure what was going to happen when I clicked on the staircase, because it wasn't a map leaving icon. It was some kind of other icon. Well, it was just blue, specifically. And I was like, alright, what's going to happen when I click on this? And of course it became like a scenario. I had the choice to leave. I could either leave or try the chisel, and I kind of just went with it, and then I just kind of was like, alright, well, let's just commit. Let's just commit. How long and how hard could it be? And then the whole dragon scenario came and went so quickly anyway. It was barely a thing. And surprise, we resolved the grieving mothers scenario. The inscriptions on this altar, almost unreadable, under a layer of thick moss, pay homage to Hylia. There are plenty of other temples and places to worship. Hylia is not really the temple type, is my main takeaway from that other message. That's kind of what's appealing about the whole thing. So let the dragon have it. Unless you're one of the people that thinks dragons should be eliminated, which, understandable. Oh no, is that going to be Sagani's? Oh no, it's going to be that, isn't it? You come upon a clearing to see a group of Glenfathans standing in a circle. Sagani glances from the Aedra statuette to the hunters, looking for a connection. Meanwhile, the hunters turn and notice you. Their bows are drawn. Does the name Pursock sound familiar to any of you?
What kind of Estromore foolishness is this?
They step aside and turn to you, and as they do, you see something on the ground behind them. Lying amidst the ferns is a white stag. Dark blood mars its brilliant coat, and its sides tremble with quick, shallow breaths. You feel a presence in the beast, something ancient familiar, before you can speak. Something thumps to the ground. You look down to see the Aedra bear, its bright glow flickering.
Auric's shadow.
Sagani draws up beside you, her wide eyes fixed on the dying stag. Ravius sniffs at the air, and a look of bewilderment spreads over his face. That white stag! A man's soul stirs within the poor creature. One of the hunters takes a step forward, and Sagani raises her bow, an arrow knocked.
Doubt next to him.
Aw, Sagani, all of your dialogue's bugged, but only yours somehow? I don't know why that's happening. Any closer and you'll bleed out next to him. Her voice is low and tremulous.
I'd prepared myself to meet a stranger. To share the honor and history of my village with someone who had no knowledge of us. Even someone who'd scorn our way of life.
Finish this before it's too late.
Years of abundance in Masuk. How his granddaughters have hunted caribou, and his grandsons made our walls strong. But he'll be gone in minutes.
Don't we have, like, multiple healers in this party? I was going to tell him about the years of abundance in Masuk. I kind of just skipped to, like, there. What a weird problem. It doesn't matter what you say. He's dying, and you're doing this for your village. Her face grows still. She kneels by the fallen stag, placing her hand on its head. She begins speaking. Her voice is steady and measured. Her words are guttural and unfamiliar. At first you think she's reciting a poem in her native language. After a moment you realize she's listing the names of every person in her village. At last you hear her speak her own name. The stag takes a final shuddering breath and falls still.
If you've finished your chanting, we need to get to work before the meat spoils.
Did your elders teach you even a mouse dropping's worth of decency? There will be other kills to dress and eat, but there will only be this one chance for Sagani to say her due respects.
She looks up, and for a moment horror and anger flash through her eyes. But as she looks at the dead deer, she shrugs and turns, leaving the lusterless Adra figurine in the dirt.
Let's go.
I finished what I came to do. Let's go. How does one character's dialogue get bugged and nobody else's? That's so strange. That's incredibly strange that one character has bugged dialogue consistently right now and nobody else. That's a bummer. The long hunt, quest completed. That's it. Like, that's just the end of it right there. What a bummer. I figured there'd be some kind of twist, and there was. And she even suggested that, like, sometimes people have animals. Like, somebody had to deal with, like, running from a bear, I think, while trying to tell it of its people. We got there just in time to see it die. This was a pretty quick little completion, wasn't it? Oh, wait. There's a weird amount of darkness here. You actually might be able to continue this direction. Nope, that's it. Well. Definitely had a time. I'll head back to camp, and then we'll try maybe talking to both Grieving Mother and Sagani, who have had their conclusions. Still making a good ratio here, at least. That's unfortunate, though. I was kind of looking forward to her trying to communicate this bizarre concept to somebody. And instead of having to communicate it to anybody, she just got there just in time to see them die. I think that means it starts over, doesn't it? Somebody else needs to go out for the next generation or something. I don't quite remember the specifics. At least she gets to go home to her family. It occurs to me, there's a sequel. The cover of the game, I've seen a couple characters on it that are from this game, so I know some characters carry over. I'm not going to say who, because spoilers and all that, but I imagine Sagani probably isn't in that game, because she has somewhere to go after all this. Some of these characters are kind of lost wanderers that can kind of go anywhere in their lives, but Sagani seems like somebody who has a specific reason to go back. To go back to her family. She has no reason to stick around for pirate adventures or whatever the hell's happening in the next game.
We saw you go up the mountain. Well, what happened?
She means to say that we're both very relieved to see you're safe.
Yes, of course, that too.
She waves a hand impatiently. I decide to let the dragon and its young stay in the nest.
Are you insane? There's no telling how many kit those monsters will kill. How could you let them live?
If the Queen of Birds saw fit to conceive such a creature in her own skies, then who are we to destroy it? This is not the outcome I have prayed for, but perhaps it is Helia's will nonetheless. Perhaps speaking to her at Terevron will illuminate the matter.
Goodbye. Only one way to find out. Ugh. If not, we can find out if the Lord of the Hunt is happy with us, because, that happened too. What? Have I never walked down that staircase before? I guess probably not. I went like all the way around here, then all the way back here, then all the way back around, so I managed to somehow know. That was startling. I remember Arona always stood for her kin, even before I was a child. Whatever her true intentions are, I smell fear in the air. Where was Radai? The champion. Oh, that's Roderick's hold. It takes me all the way back. True to form. Better. Okay, cool. So we're down to just the Helia quest and Radai. And then we'll be done with this town. And I can go ahead and do my... I think it's time for me to do my next tour, essentially. And do every single thing I can do and then come back for the Burial Isle. Because I don't know how that's going to go, but it sounds final. Yeah, but I would like to see if I've earned divine favor or not. Let's close out with that. Wish me luck. The intruder cannot hide from us. Wonder what they're talking about. Even the mightiest Stalgar will kill the weakest vermin when our cubs are threatened. Even the mightiest Stalgar will kill the weakest vermin when our cubs are threatened. Did you mean to say even the weakest Stalgar will kill the strongest vermin when our cubs are threatened? It seems like they were implying, like, if the cubs are threatened, Stalgar become mighty and will kill and can fight anything for the sake of their children. But instead, it's like, yeah, that big ass mega giant will totally stomp some bugs to save her babies. I'm like, that's not impressive. That's wow. The strong can beat the weak. Crazy. Hey, Helia. Hey, buddy. We friends? You stand once more before the shrine of Helia. The stars of her constellation seem to glitter all the brighter. Pray to Helia. You kneel. While you pray, you feel the space around your body shift and melt. You find yourself in a vision of the mountaintop temple. Yet you see neither worshippers nor a dragon, but a tree. Its limbs wrap around the perimeter of the temple, tapering into twigs and branches of all sizes and angles. They seem too long and too numerous to be held up by the meager trunk, but they hold steady in the breeze. A single sparrow lands on the nearest branch. It watches you. Whistle to the bird? Because we're supposed to be embracing art and song. You whistle the first tune that pops into your head. The sparrow blinks its beady eyes and hops closer to you along the branch. It bobs its tiny head and opens its beak, and the rich, trilling melody that spills forth is the song of a chorus of birds. A massive flock descends with the thundering of wings and whooping, screeching, chirping calls. They fill the boughs of the tree by the thousands, birds of every shape, size, and color, nestling next to one another. Pelagina sighs heavily. To be honest, I really can't stand birds. A breeze ripples through the air. The limbs sway, creaking with a strange, gentle rhythm. A few hundred of the birds flit from their branches, forming a brilliantly variegated flock in front of the tree. As they meet and swoop in unison, you catch a glimpse of someone looking back at you, cloaked by the flurry of feathers. Watcher, I believe we stand in the legendary court of birds. She closes her eyes and raises her face to the sky. I feel a presence, warmth, and hope.
You journeyed to my temple and found the dragon. Yet instead of driving it off, you allowed it to stay. The songs of my faithful will never again fill the nest. and the beast and her young will slaughter many to feed their hunger.
The dragon sought shelter for her young. Are you not also the goddess of motherhood?
And even in a creature so fierce you find tenderness. Your long journey has revealed a compassionate and generous heart, Watcher. There is something else I would ask of you.
The massed flock wheels around the temple. I'm listening. The birds return to the tree and nestle among their peers. The breeze ripples through the branches again, carrying the goddess's voice.
You must stop Theos, and you must undo the tragedy he has wrought.
The grieving mother rocks on her feet. There is a way, Watcher. There is hope yet. Birds all over the tree begin to chirp and sing, and in the rise and fall of their voices, Hylia speaks. Theos acts, but is moved by another. The exiled queen whispers in his ear, urges him to rob the living and the unborn of their souls for her benefit, and he has obeyed. A hawk shifts on its perch. She will consume them, grow powerful while 1,000 empty children are born. But there is still time to reverse this tragedy. How can I return things to the way they were? The bird suddenly falls silent, watching you. The voice on the wind returns. Guide the trapped souls back to the bodies they were stolen from. Hollow-born children whose eyes have never seen the sun. I think I chose the right god. Like I said, my goal in fighting Theos was to undo the damage he did specifically. And now we're actually basically verbatim talking about that exact goal with this god specifically, where these gods all have such different morals and goals that they would have all had different ideas of what they want to actually have as the outcome. It sounds like going with Hylia might mean Hylia. I think it's Hylia. You've ruined Hyrulean. It sounds like I picked the exact god that might have the same goal as me, where we can actually do exactly what would actually make a grieving mother happy and fix her backstory that was just revealed this episode too, which is the idea of being able to put the souls back in the children, having them awoken instead of doomed to skip this generation or never live at all if these souls are being taken entirely. The grieving mother claps her hands once, setting off the music of chimes. After long years, let their wounds be healed, their tears dried. You could restore them, give their families hymns of joy after years of lament. The breeze tickles your ear. Peace and restoration give purpose to their suffering. There is no meaning, no redemption in pain that does not lead to fulfillment. Symmetry demands that great rejoicing follow suffering such as this. Sounds like, in a way, we've been spending this entire game still trying to fulfill our promise to the mother we met at the very beginning of the game. We had that one female warrior party member, I think her name was Kaliska, and her sister we met shortly thereafter, and we had to tell her that her sister was dead, but she was pregnant and fearing that her son would be born hollow, or child would be born hollow, and we followed her instructions and found somebody to treat her, only to find out that that person was lying to her and just giving her comfort and pretending that they were helping, because and not maliciously, it's just because that's all they could do. She has a reputation for being able to help, but she can't because no one can help with the Hollowborn situation. All she can do is give them some good, proper nutrients to help with the birth and encourage them. And the birth probably hasn't happened yet. So we've essentially spent the entire game still fulfilling our promise to help her avoid having a hollow-born child. And turns out we can stop them all. We've uncovered the entire conspiracy. And now we might even find a way to put it back. Thank you, Hylia. I will continue to Sun and Shadow.
When you reach the Burial Isle, you will find souls there that I have granted reprieve for their sins. I give these to you, for only they can bear you to safety on your journey down. And when you face Theos and the rotting fruits of his endeavors, remember the conversation we have had. In that moment, you will have power rivaling a god's. And after it, you will live in the world that you have chosen. Choose Restoration, Watcher. Return the souls to the bodies they were stolen from. Swear to me that you will do this, and I shall give you power to make even Woodica quake. I can be merciful and terrible, Watcher.
Great wings, dark against the sun, unfold behind the tree, casting a blinding shadow across the temple for the briefest of moments. The grieving mother's eyes are fever bright. Watcher, this is the hope I have held to, that the children of the Deerwood might be restored, their families healed. Let us bring Hylia's restoration to this country. I swear to return the souls to the hollow-born children of the Deerwood. And I shall remember. The dark wings snap shut, and the tiny sparrow flits to your shoulder. It tilts its head back and opens its beak, and the song that spills forth is like nothing you've ever heard. Melodies, at once mournful and beautiful, entrance you. The world becomes a place of pure color and sound. Each perfect moment follows the next, like the lines of a poem or the bar of a song. I just want to take this moment. We're talking about how like one of the first side quests I ever found is being fulfilled essentially by the end decision of the game. I want to point out that the fucking name I gave my character is still matching up with this. I guess it's not completely off base because I also am a chanter. So I'm a chanter, the music-oriented class, but I named myself Jaskier, which is the original name of Dandelion from the Witcher series. In case somebody didn't catch up on that yet. I don't remember. I think in episode 1 or whatever, during character creation, I was like, ooh, bonus points if you get that. Yeah, I named my character after Dandelion from the Witcher series because his name's Jaskier in the original version. Because his name's not Dandelion. He's actually in fact, Jaskier doesn't even mean dandelion. It means buttercup. It's a different flower, but in English calling him buttercup is hilarious, but it's like not the same way as dandelion is. They're both like, haha, the guy's named after a flower, but like buttercup is way weirder to have your bard character be named. So they probably went somewhere different with the tone with that, I suppose. But essentially, if I remember correctly, yeah, I think that means my character's name is Buttercup in this playthrough, basically. So enjoy that. But I named him from the get-go about this, and then at the end of the game, I'm siding with the god of music and song and art and so on. So like this has been very consistent all the way through, hasn't it?
Wait! I'm not done with you.
What? Why is that happening? Jaskier is granted to Hylia's boon. Oh. Pallegina has something to say. I wonder how many characters have something to say to Hylia specifically. I feel like I kind of nailed it that I brought Pallegina and Grieving Mother along, apparently. Just like how it was really cool that I had Heravius during Sagani's quest, where he had a lot of specific interactions. Birds wheel and pivot, showing a flash of pale feathers. Who is this that speaks in anger? Please forgive Palagina's boldness, Hylia. Passion is but another side of my nature. There is nothing to forgive. The birds settle on the branches and regard Palagina.
It's not often that any of our kind get the chance to speak to their... What should I call you? My mother? Father? Those words seem to fall short and yet be too generous, given our history.
The birds cock their heads, craning and twisting their necks to look at one another. You are angry with me.
What did you expect? Should I be happy? To be like this? To live like this? What kind of creator does this to her creation and abandons it in a world this cruel?
And should I have plucked you from your home, wrapped you in my wings, and brought you to a nest like this one? Some tranquil and harmonious place, far from the war chants and battle dances you love so well? A hawk shivers, ruffling its feathers. Tell me what you want.
All I've ever wanted from any of your kind is to take some responsibility. Any responsibility for what you've done. To us. To every one of the children you've abandoned.
It makes me definitely wonder how many of these characters have a specific grievance with a specific god. Because it does occur to me, if you get a chance to talk to Magran, for example, Durance might have something to say. The birds flap their wings, rising from the branches. You are a song of ferocity, and one I love well. I hear your furor and rage, and it is music. Your prowess and valor leave a trail like a tapestry upon the world. I would not dampen your song, even with the comfort of my wings.
What does that mean? Come back here!
Palagina shouts angrily into the retreating flock of birds. There is no response. Palagina's fists clench in frustration. I'm sorry you didn't get the answers you were looking for, Palagina. You deserve better.
We all deserve better.
Her shoulders slump in resignation. That was a cool interaction. Yeah. Neat. Glad I brought you along. And here we have it. What? You're adding quests now? It's like, here's the final quest, potentially, of the game. And then it's like, yo, new quest at the keep. It's like, come on. The Celebrant's Dirge. I'll have to switch up my character. Let's read this in a moment. In fact, that's it for this episode, I would say. Wow. What an eventful fucking episode. We completed Grieving Mother and Hylia and Sagani's quests.
Sure.
We parlayed with the dragon. Oh god, more's happening. Stop right there. No, you can't. No, you're gonna wait till next episode, son of a bitch. I gotta cut this. We're already over time. I can't have more crazy shit happen. Enjoy next episode, everybody. We'll see what the fuck this is.